You're very welcome to the Irish Political Roundup with me, Roisin the Cleric.
And me, Biography. And today, Roisin, we're joined by Councillor Seamus Morris, who's a County Councillor on Tipperary County Council in the Nenagh Electoral Area. Seamus is an independent councillor, and he was first elected as a public representative in 2004 to what was the then Nenagh Town Council. Seamus is also a two-time Mayor of Nenagh, and Seamus has been an advocate for many causes within the North Tipperary and Nenagh area, particularly in relation to animal cruelty. He has been very vocal against Irish Water's plans to extract water from Lough Derg, and he is very well known within the sporting community. And of course, his own son Jake is on the Tipperary hurling team. Seamus, you're very welcome to the Irish Political Roundup.
Oh, thanks very much. I'm very happy to be here.
So
Seamus,
Seamus, oh, sorry.
sorry, go ahead, Roisin, go ahead.
Seamus, how long have you been in politics? But you're a county councillor, so it's nice to get other people around the country to know who you are. How long have you been in politics, and what inspired you to get involved in local politics?
Since I was born, to be honest with you, my family were a very Republican-minded family and heavily involved in the campaign in the six counties. So it would have led to disagreements with the law over the years, and we became very politicised very early in our lives. We couldn't not be, but we were surrounded by fantastic people, fantastic Republicans. Most of them have very strong community spirit. So really, I was involved since then. I was working in a factory in Limerick, doing nights and all the rest. And I said to myself, if I ever get back to Nenagh, I'm going to give something back to the community. So I got involved in politics.
That's really interesting. So the six counties, that would be the Ulster. And as a dairy woman myself, I'm a proud dairy woman.
Good
And so you got involved in politics, you come from a political background. And when were you first elected?
I was first elected to the town council in 2004. Actually topped the poll at my first attempt. Had a very good crew around me. I was green as hell, thought I could save the world. Took me a long time to find out how politics really works. You have to bring people with you rather than go through people. So kind of learned political skills pretty quickly. Then got elected to the county council. I was a two-time councillor. I was town councillor and county councillor. I was the first Sinn Fein county councillor in 50 years in North Tip. And at the same time, rearing a family and being involved in the community and working as a postman.
Postman. And so you're working as a postman, you're working in the community, and you are really and a postman, because postmen get to know the houses and the residents and everybody by name, even if a post goes to the wrong address. You're there, you're trusted within the community, even as a postman. So you've really been boots on the ground, grassroots, and that seems to be following you through.
Yeah, look, being a postman is great before elections, but not so great after elections, where everybody's waiting for you with their problems almost daily. But yeah, look, come here. I never opened my mouth until I was about 40, and got involved in politics. I decided rather than being at the back of the room, it was better I was at the front of the room, helping people. I developed the ability to talk. As I said, I was a pretty quiet person, but politics changed all of that. I love what I do, to be honest with you. It's not a chore for me. It is getting harder to do. The closure of the town councils and the amalgamating of councils has, in my eyes, destroyed local politics. But I love doing what I'm doing. Do you know what? Every now and again, you get to help somebody or you get to help an animal, and that makes it all worth it.
We'll come to your animal advocacy in a little while. You are now you entered politics as a Sinn Fein councillor, but you're now an independent councillor.
Yeah.
So tell us, what sort of local issues are coming up at the doors this week and since the local election, the general elections?
Well, look, housing is I feel I'm failing people at the moment. Housing is so hard to deal with because we just can't find houses for people. And I suppose the latest phenomenon really that has happened over the last 2 years, where you might have had a housing list of 800 people, but they were adequately housed. They just wanted a council house. But over the last 2 years, the amount we've had in the bones of 300 notice to quits, where landlords are getting out of the game through no fault of their own. They're getting good value for their houses, or they themselves have to give their house to their own kids, which is 25% of landlords. So if we've lost 300 houses, and every one of those notice to quits now become a priority. So we had 300 priorities on top of an already clogged list. We haven't got the houses for them. We have families that have had to break up. Kids gone mother gone one way with some of the kids, father gone another way with some of the kids, sleeping on couches. All good people that came, mostly East European people that came to Ireland 15, 20 years ago, were paying rent religiously. They were the workers in our society. They were rearing their own kids. Kids as Irish, actually, most of them. Fabric of our North Tipperary community. But unfortunately, they're losing their houses and not able to deal with it because they never really looked for anything in over the last 10 or 15 years, but are now in serious trouble with housing. That's one of the major issues. And of course, you also have small issues like roads and drugs. Drugs is a major issue. The destruction of communities because of drugs, the lack of guarantee, antisocial behaviour. But you know, everybody's problem is different. It might be someone who's not paying rent. It might be the councils have become very non-transparent in the way they're dealing with people. Particularly a few landlords I've come across where people have done damage to their houses, spent 2 years fighting the council to try and get their money back or get their house put back to the way it was. Councils ignoring them. And then someone like me is landed into it 2 years down the road, trying to get the council to do what they should have done in the first place. Only Sunday I met a family that I met him on a bank holiday Monday, actually, and I met him again on a bank holiday Monday the other day. But they told me, Seamus, we're going to tell you this story anyway, but we know you can't help us. Where there was a person in the house, the father died, the council allowed the daughter move into the house, destroyed the house, absolutely destroyed the house, so much so the house was unlivable for 2 years, and the council tried to walk away from it. Now, they're issues that most local politicians have to deal with, but you don't see it in the media. And that's the type of thing we've had to do more and more, where councils just won't do what they're asked to do. So yeah, there's loads of issues out there, but the issues are really complicated by the fact that you have to ask 9 or 10 times to get the one job done. Because I feel local democracy is all but destroyed because of the putting people first document in 2014. And really, it has made the job harder. But having said that, you get a few wins along the way and you love it. Look, come here, I'm also a very forensic councillor. I've forensically gone through Irish Water's figures that they're putting forward to pump water to Dublin needlessly. I'm at the moment forensically going through University Hospital Limerick trolley numbers, where the fire chief has gone in and several times has found that they're breaking their own fire regulations. So all of that means hard work. It means a lot of research, and that's the type of things that I do. I'm not saying everyone does, but it's the type of things I do. I sometimes I wonder why I do it, but I do like to get results, and sometimes to get results you have to work harder at.
Absolutely. And you mentioned Irish Water there, Seamus. I was reading an article, I think it was in Tipperary Live, and you compared Irish Water to be as useful as an ashtray on a motorbike, which is quite damning. And Roisin and I, we've covered water infrastructure in quite depth in the last number of months, and we've spoken to your colleagues and Tipperary County Council as well on this. Irish water connections, it's a big issue that's impacting on delivery of housing.
Look, to be honest with you, the reason I said that was, again, I had to do a Freedom of Information request because the Neanagh wastewater treatment plant was supposed to be upgraded by 2024. I went to the council to find out why it wasn't, and they told me, an experienced councillor like me, they told me to go and ask Irish Water. In other words, they gave me the two fingers. So I put in an FOI of all meetings between Irish Water and Tipperary County Council, and I found that there was an agreement made by Irish Water that they would have had the treatment plant in Neanagh upgraded by 2024. They didn't do it. I have a complaint gone in now, but it took me to forensically go through freedom of information stuff I got back. Also, I've questioned Irish Water on it, but the reality of this is we have 5 social housing projects in Nenagh that are now literally held up because of this. And the council actually went out and bought the land for those 5 projects. Not only that, but every private house project in Nenagh is held up because we're now told. And by the way, Irish Water put in a planning permission application for the wastewater treatment plant only in the last couple of months, and it is so flawed that the Tipperary County Council came back with 3 pages of further information requests. Now, Irish Water, all they have to do is get these things right. But I believe they put in lack of information because they have the money to do the project. But that means Nenagh and other places around North Tip, several places like it. But when you're dealing with Irish Water, you have to drag information out of them, and you won't get a councillor up and down the country that will say they have faith in Irish Water. Now, look, I'm not saying the people in Irish Water aren't incompetent people; they are. But let's be realistic here. Irish Water is a failed project, and it was failed the day they didn't get water charges, because that was the model to pay for Irish Water, to pay for the badly needed infrastructure that they were handed up and down the country. And once they didn't get the water charges, and I don't see any government having the courage to go after water charges again, once they didn't get that, they were orphaned. And I think it's time now for the government to call a halt on the whole Irish Water project, because they're failing people. And what they're doing then is they're absolutely screwing any developer that tries to get a connection. Some of the connection charges are impossible. They're just impossible, and they're driving up the price of houses.
I think somebody said it's, sorry, €5,000, I think it was, for the water connection on every new house that was built. So when you buy a house, you then, it's an added €5,000 is added on to the price of the house. So that goes on to the mortgage. Do you think
it's actually worse than Nenagh? We have a new 67 house project, a social house project, just started in Nenagh, and they charged every one of them €8,000. And these are self-lay. The developers do all the work themselves, and it's over €8,000 per house just for a social housing project. But the problem is there is no appeal process in it, so they can charge what they want. I know a project in Nenagh that had an agreement with Tipperary County Council for an 80-metre connection. Irish Water came in and said, no, we want an 800-metre connection. Therefore, the connection went from €8,000 to €88,000. So that's what we're dealing with, and there's no appeal process.
Is there no accountability within Irish Water and no consistency of information?
No.
So really, there's no accountability. They're not accountable to the government. No one's calling them into account. Do you think then the local authorities should take over and take over the Irish Water again?
Well, I think we've a small window of opportunity for that to happen, because the staff, the water staff in the councils, are still with the councils. They're refusing to go over to Irish Water, and I think they have until next year either to agree to go over to Irish Water, or they'll be reallocated in the councils. What I'm talking about here is thousands of staff being paid as water staff, and these guys are knowledgeable, and these guys and ladies know where every pipe is in every town and village. Mm-hmm. They are now going to be reallocated within the council areas, and Irish Water said they'll get new staff. This is the crazy system, because most of the staff in the county council do not trust Irish Water enough to go over and work with them.
But when you think about it, Irish Water, then they've not been accountable, they've not been transparent, and like even just coming out with figures in your head about we've heard that it was 5,000, you said it's 8,000. Where are they coming with the figures? And surely, I mean, like when you think about the waste, the water leakage and the water waste, nothing's been done. The water pipes in around Ireland are 100 years old. What have they done?
300 years old in some cases.
Yeah, like so to me, I'm going to ask you now. You might not be able to answer it, or you might say, Roshan, how long have you got? Can Irish Water be fixed from within, or should it just be completely disbanded back to the local engineers, the local people who know where the pipes and where everything is?
Yeah, how long have you got? Well, the simple answer to that is Irish Water was set up in the wrong way in the first place.
Right.
It became a retirement home for ex-county managers and ex-directors of services. They built themselves plush offices. They put a gym into their offices. So in other words, it became a kind of a retirement home for directors of services and county managers. And what happened then after that is they became totally unaccountable to anybody. I'll give an example. I have 1,000 pages of information got that about the Eastern and Midlands water supply project to Dublin. The CRU are tearing their hair out trying to get value for money information off the Irish Water for this project. I went in recently to an information event on this project in Neanagh, and there must have been 8 or 9 different engineers inside and consultants working for Irish Water telling people what they were going to do. But yet when farmers are asking them if the pipe is going through their land, how can you access the pipe? What happens if there's a leak in the pipe? In other words, that water is going to be treated water, okay? If there was a leak in someone's land and it ran into a local river, what were the consequences of that? They couldn't answer any of them questions because at the end of the day, they've been given up to 10 billion euros. This is a project that started at 700 million euros. The government are after saying to them now, you can have up to 10 billion. They're giving them a target of 10 billion to spend.
Wow.
And this is at a time when our wastewater infrastructure up and down the country, it frustrated me in the election to see parties bidding against each other, to see how many tens of thousands of houses they could build. We can't build houses because the wastewater infrastructure is in an awful state. And not only that, but our energy infrastructure is in an awful state as well. So at the end of the day, I don't know, we don't seem to be able to do anything right in this country in that sense. Look, and come here, me as a councillor, I started in 2007 opposing the pipeline project because I felt that to pump 330 million litres of treated water a day, 170 kilometres into pipes that were leaking 300 million litres of water a day was just madness and a waste of money. It'll make the National Children's Hospital seem value for money.
Wow.
Gosh. So,
Gosh.
so my next question then would be is, what did Irish Water do with the money that they were given?
Well, at the end of the day, to be fair to Irish Water, they're not being given enough money. And I will say that as a public representative. From what I'm told, is the work that they do is quite good. Okay. But what they're doing is they're hiring consultants themselves. They're actually replicating the work that councils should be doing. Okay. But they're also hiring outside people to do the work. I'll give an example. There was the wastewater treatment plant in Neanagh was being emptied. Had a contract for a company in Roscrea to empty it a couple of times a week, or to take away sludge, or to do whatever they did. They decided to give that contract out to tender. There's companies from the north coming down emptying the sludge out of the plant in Neanagh. And if there was a pipe then broken or whatever in Neanagh, there was companies from as far away from Cork to come up to do an hour's work. So that's the type of model that they have, which is to privatise everything. It doesn't always work. What have they done with the money? To be fair to them, I feel they haven't enough money, or they're using the money in the wrong way. What I would say to this country at the moment, or this government at the moment, fix the wastewater infrastructure and fix the electricity infrastructure, then you can build houses. Irish Water, honestly, I'm not sure. I feel they're not up to the job, but imagine giving them 10 billion euros to pump water to a place that's not needed. And again, because I've done my research on this, Dublin has no water shortage. If you look at the Dublin capacity reports for water, there is no area in a red zone in Dublin. No part of Dublin is in a red zone. There's plenty of areas in North Tip, plenty of areas in Limerick, plenty of areas in the Midlands in red zones. They call them green, amber, or red. There's not one area in Dublin. They have plenty of water up to 2030. They're sitting on the biggest resource of water in the country underneath them. They have the Slaney north of it, and they also have seawater, which is being used in Saudi Arabia and places like that. But no, because this was a consultant's, forgive me, wet dream, consultant-driven projects, we don't seem to be able in this country to take on consultants. Once consultants get a job, They can hire more consultants to tell them what to do. They can hire consultants to tell them what to say in the media. They can hire media consultants to ask them the right questions. It's a runaway train. This thing won't stop at 15 billion. And they still won't fix the water in Dublin, the situation in Dublin, because there's actually some pipes in Dublin are actually timber. 300 years old. 300 years old, going back to Georgian times. And
oh my gosh.
they need, no matter how much water to pump to Dublin, they're still going to have a water shortage because it's a water management issue.
So we're never going to fix the housing crisis. So really, is this why there's nothing being done with the housing crisis? Because instead of telling the public, okay, I'm being transparent with the public, we can't fix the housing crisis because we got to fix the water and the water crisis and the electricity or the energy crisis. But so then it gets you to wonder why are they not communicating with each other? Why is this not being communicated to the public?
Because county managers won't take on ex-county managers, and that's what you're dealing with here. We have brought several motions in Tipperary County Council, motions of having no faith in Irish water. Okay, and every time we did it, the county manager turned the Fianna Fáil and the Fine Gael lads and look, we can't be doing this. We need Irish water and all the rest of it. Every time we had a motion in, it was defeated by we'd say Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael. But at the same time, they're the first ones to give out about Irish water that can't get anything done. There's more boil water notices in Tipperary than there is in any other part of the country. Wow. And yes, and yes, we can't get the county manager to say anything bad about our Ishcare. And you know, to be fair, I have gone out and I've got the information, sought freedom of information requests. Like, I shouldn't have to do that. 61 years of age, 20-something years in politics. I shouldn't have to be going down the freedom of information route to find out information that I suspected was right in the first place.
Yeah, that's incredible, and that's amazing that, you know, some of the things you've been telling us there. And then both Roisin and ourselves, Seamus, we were in Neanagh there recently. We interviewed Ryan O'Mara, the Fianna Fáil TD for North Tipperary, and in Neanagh itself, you have a very, very big site. It's a former military barracks there in Summerhill. It's a listed site. There's been talks for many years about trying to do something with this site. But you feel that it's prime for a regeneration project?
Believe it or not, I feel it's prime for a retirement village. First of all, the military barracks can't be saved. There are people that think it can. I know for a fact that I was involved in when I was Mayor of Nenagh in 2004. We brought in architects down from conservation architects from Belfast, actually, to do a survey on it, and they gave us 10 years in 2004, either to fix it or whatever. And but since then, the Department of Defence have literally walked away from it. They barely put up a fence around it. It's ready to fall. It's a fantastic site, though. I really mean that. And there's you know, its political past doesn't bother me. I'd be very happy to put in a military museum there along with a retirement village. But I think it is a perfect site for regeneration. But look, we have 2 or 3 projects on the go in Neanagh at the moment, and here I go again about consultants. The Nenagh Historic Quarter project. It's an URDF project where you go for phase 1 funding, which is to hire consultants. There's 2 projects in the centre of Neanagh: the old cinema, the Art of Cinema, and the Historic Quarter. We spent 1.06 million on consultants so far, and we haven't twisted a spade in the ground, and won't, because we didn't get phase 2 of funding. So again, I did an FOI on consultants on capital projects, and we spent 11.2 million in Tipperary. Some of the ones want to see it past phase 1. That doesn't mean that both of those sites, the Rialta site will become derelict, and we spent over €1 million on consultants on it already.
No, it's a lot of taxpayers' money just going to pay consultants that don't deliver, and work is not going to be finalised or delivered on the projects that they're being paid millions for.
Consultants are the new gods in this country. Okay, who becomes consultants? ex-director of services and ex-county managers. It's an old pals act.
Right.
Be fighting it out for ages and nobody biting on it. I can give you all the information. I can show you every social house built in Neanagh over the last couple of years. We had to hire an architectural consultant. Cost us 31,000 euros per house, okay, per social house, okay. Tipperary County Council has his own architect, but because he wasn't the consultant that they wanted to put forward these projects to phase 2, we had to hire our own consultant. Cost us 330,000 euros.
I have a question and it's been on my mind, and I said it once to Pat O'Neill, who first really changed my perspective on the water crisis when we were talking about the farming and fisheries program way back last year. And do you think then, we talk about the Irish water and the water charges, do you think we need to fix the water pipes? We need a whole new water infrastructure. Was the intention good? But however, was the delivery of the message wrong in the why? Was the message the wrong message delivered to the public, where the public thought it was just another tax instead of we have a water crisis infrastructure problem crisis?
I tell you what I think. I think we need to have a proper property tax, which would include water charges, but the money has to be left locally. Okay.
Nice.
Like in the 6 counties, property tax pays for playing fields, it pays for
everything.
School books, it pays for all sorts of things.
It pays for the rubbish being collected.
You can see what you're getting for your money, but we just loaded tax on top of tax. And bear in mind, we're after bringing in the pension levies and all sorts of levies at the same time. It came at the wrong time. But before you do that, before I'd even discuss that, we have to, as a nation, discuss how we're funding local government, because all our taxes in this country go to Dublin, and not Dublin, Marianne, but just Dublin as where the treasury is, national treasury is, and we get back a minuscule amount of it. We have to then vie for which is why the town councils are an awful lot. I mean, the last budget for Nenagh Town Council was 3-something million to be spent in Nenagh alone, just in Nenagh. Okay, all the money that was raised in parking charges and fines, all spent in Nenagh. That money now all goes down to Clonmel, and every town and village in the county has to vie for the same funding. The URDF and the RRDF projects. If we have a project up and running and we've paid people to bring it along the way through phase 1, we have to vie with every town and village in the country for phase 2 of it. So give the money to local government. Trust local government to spend it properly. We did it, I guarantee you, we did in Neanagh. Tipperary County Council were always very prudent with the way they spent their money, instead of taking it to Dublin and begging to get some of it back every now and again. And I think if we were to do that, and I'm looking at the end of my career as a politician, I'd be courageous enough to say I think we need a proper property tax where the money is spent locally. And I think that is the way around, but I don't think anybody will have the courage to say that at the moment. And as you said, the loss of local town councils has been you feel was a backward step. There's some talk that town councils may return in some shape or form in coming years. I'm sure you'd welcome that, but unless they have real powers attached, is it kind of, it defeats the purpose. You had 9 people on Nenagh Town Council probably getting 300 euros a month. That's what they were getting. Happy to do it, go in the evenings and discuss everything about Nenagh. And I'm not just talking about Nenagh. Tipperary County Council had 9 councils amalgamated into one. 2 different economic regions, 2 different health regions. And, it was almost an impossible task. And I congratulate the former county manager, Joe McGrath. He did a good job now in turning things around, because he was handed a pies and chalice. But you're going from 9 councils down to 1. You have 40 councillors in a room. If I bring up something about Nenagh, someone else brings up something about Borhalane. Yeah. And you've lost the discussion, because unless someone from Nenagh comes in and says, look, I'm on degree of, and to be fair, if the municipal districts were funded properly, I think that would be a start to restoring local democracy. The town councils, no matter what they say, they're not coming back. But fund the municipal districts properly. We have a discretionary budget, I'd say, in the Neanagh MD area of 500,000-600,000 euros a year. That's to give out to clubs and charity and all. That's just not good enough. So if you fund the whole notion of the funding of local democracy has to be something, should be on the high agenda on most political parties. But I don't see it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think people, they don't realise or the work that local councillors do, and the importance of having your local councillor boots on the ground, grassroots, you know, being able to deal with issues and and bring them up at a higher level.
Before I wake up every morning, I'm in work at 6 o'clock every morning. I'll have messages on 2 or 3 different apps or whatever, WhatsApp, Messenger, Facebook Messenger. People don't ring you anymore. And if I don't write everything down every evening, I'll have forgotten half of them. But I'm very happy. Most people ring me just for advice. Okay, it could be medical cares, it could be anything. And because, yeah, you're right. I don't think local councillors get enough credit for, like, if there's grief in a family or whatever. I don't tell my wife half the stuff that I'm dealing with because I don't want to bother her with it. Because when someone, I heard Mikey Healy on Tipperary FM one day, and I thought he was brilliant. He said a man rang him one time, and he wasn't having a great day, Michael, and he kind of half dismissive of the man. And the man said he had problems with the revenue, and Michael Healy, and he said this story himself now on Tip FM, so I'm not betraying anything. And the man had trouble with the revenue, and Michael Healy didn't really deal with it properly. And the man topped himself. Okay, very, very sad situation. So what I learned from that conversation is no matter how small an issue someone rings you with, and no matter how desperate the situation, and me in my own mind knows that I haven't a bloody chance of fixing it, you give them hope at the end of that call, because they pick up the phone to share their problem with you. And it's very important that you give them a bit of hope before you probably meet them face to face or whatever and say, look, things might be a bit harder to sort that out, but we'll try. That's what you have to do. You can't say, would you ever go away and you haven't a chance to get... When people pick up the phone to talk to you, and believe you me, a lot of people contact me as much now as ever, being an urban councillor. You better listen to them, and you better give them hope at the end of that phone call.
Yeah, that's quite profound. And do you feel that as regards for you being able to assist people, are you able to get access into those areas? Because I say a lot of things that come to you as well, Seamus, that will be outside the remit of a county councillor. So how do you bring those issues to the appropriate level?
You learn as you go along, and I mean, politics is about contacts, about having the right contacts. And when the county council is amalgamated, you were supposed to ring a helpline or you were supposed to log things. 99% of our job is still being able to ring the right lad, or the right engineer, or the right ganger, or whatever, or the right person in the HSE, or the right person. I do a lot of work now with Sharon Keoghan, who set up a help group for over 300 councillors up in Senator Sharon Keoghan. She's really helped us out where we can go to senators to get PQs done, or we can offer the same service now as most TDs, because I'm getting passports done left, right and centre, helping people with medical stuff, all being done because Sharon Keoghan set up an independent network so that we could all help each other and advise each other. And that's important. It's important not to be isolated as well. But yeah, look, come here. What I would say is that it comes through experience. We know who to contact, and that's really how we do our job.
Yeah, exactly. That.
Senator Sharon Keoghan, is she not getting then maybe media or public respect for setting up this group for councillors to actually help one another? Because I don't think very many people know that.
Yeah, she does off the councillors, you know. Let's be honest, yeah. and our network, because she would have came and spoken at a lot of our election launches. Yeah, and we work for her as well to make sure she got re-elected. Yeah, it's probably not well known. I mean, Sharon is a divisive person anyway, because she's not afraid to say what she thinks.
I know.
To be fair to her,
yeah, I admire her.
To be fair to her, be fair to her, she got the money together to fight the last two referendums as well when nobody else did.
Yeah.
She got the money together for the adverts in the national media, and so she would be known because she would be known through that. But Sharon's not afraid to have a pop at people either, so she's not. So yeah, look, come here, but that's what I'm saying. We have a great network of great support out there now. You know, I don't need to be in a party.
You're the second county councillor to tell us about Sharon Cogan. You really are. And that's good to know that there is that network of people are going to a senator, even at the county council level. And that's encouraging to know that.
Yeah. You should talk to Sharon sometime.
Pardon?
Talk to Sharon sometime.
I have done, but she doesn't want to be interviewed. So.
Oh, okay. It's not like her now.
Yeah, I know.
And Seamus, we're chatting off air. You're also a big animal lover as well, and you were telling us that Tipperary County Council had an awful problem with dogs being put down, and over a period of time you were able to reduce that significantly.
Yeah, look, I got contacted by two girls in Australia, would you believe, through social media, for people from Neanagh, but were living in Australia, and for some reason or other, they got access to the figures of the amount of dogs that Tipperary County Council were taking in, and the fact that they weren't able to move them on or whatever, the dogs were being put down unnecessarily. So we intervened. We got working with some of the local animal charities, and we got a Facebook campaign going to rehome dogs. And it reduced it significantly now. I mean, it reduced it by over 90%, I'd say. And funny enough, it wasn't something that I set out designed to do to kind of get votes, but it's something I met in the doors at several places where people thanked me for it. And sure, look, I've at dogs myself. They're all outside. They're actually being given apples to keep them, stop them from barking and trying to get in the door and all the rest of it. So there's a few sheep flying around the place here as well. So there's, you know, I was reared with animals, and I'm a postman, and I still love dogs. So.
Exactly.
The animal culture and the animal cruelty. Ireland has the biggest puppy farms in Europe. We're the puppy farm capital of Europe. And yet nothing's been done to actually help fight against animal cruelty. Where do you see that problem?
Peadar Tobin brought in a bill, didn't he, on that? He did. Peadar Tobin brought in a bill last year on that. Now look, when when bills hit the probably the Shannon first, it takes a long time for it to get through. But I know Peadar has been active in that, and I'd be pretty friendly with Peadar now, to be honest with you.
So Peadar brought that in, and where do you see now the solution in ending animal cruelty at grassroots level until this bill is finalised?
You just educate clowns out there to stop buying dogs off of these people. And COVID was a bad time, really, for dogs. It was a good time for dogs in one sense. People were taking them in, but when COVID stopped, they wanted to get rid of their dogs. And I'm a postman, and I picked up more dogs that were dumped within 2 miles of Neanagh. That I care to think about, to be honest with you, and that's really what is happening. I mean, people are going to have to be educated. You know, don't take a bloody dog in if you can't mind it.
Yeah, that is true. And from previous programs we've done with like John O'Callaghan wrote, he was telling us that when it comes to animal welfare, animal cruelty, it's so disjointed. There's so many different departments. It's everyone's responsibility and no one's responsibility. As regards Tipperary County Council, are they adequately resourced to deal with the problem you feel, Seamus?
No. Local government's very poorly resourced in most from planning down. I suppose our biggest problem is horse cruelty to horses. I'd say that'd be the biggest problem we have.
And donkeys as well.
Yeah, donkeys as well, and really our ability to be able to go and deal with that, particularly in Clonmel and places like that, hasn't been good. Okay, only for a couple of local charities. My Lovely Horse, I think, have rescued a good few horses around the place, and I think that's probably one of the biggest the saddest things. But we look for dog wardens and horse wardens in North Tip and South Tip. If we have to get rid of a horse out of an estate in Neanagh, we have to ring a crowd up in Mead to do it, and that's the reality of it.
It's absolutely in 2025 that there's so much cruelty in the world, especially animal cruelty, and especially we've had Katrina Lowry from Hilltop Sanctuary in County Clare on with us many times along with John Callahan. It's unbelievable that if there can be so much cruelty to animals, what would they do to humans, you know?
Oh yeah, come here, come here. That's it. I mean, if you treat an animal bad, the future isn't good for your children, you know, and what they're going to learn as well, you know.
So coming up the doors, we've got the housing crisis, we've done the water crisis, the energy crisis. Is the cost of living crisis coming off at your doors with your constituencies?
Yeah, look, absolutely, but you know, of course, immigration is coming up, and everybody thinks it's just about IPAS or Ukrainians or whatever. It's not. We're given work permits to 792 people a week into this country. 38,000 work permits last year. They all have to be housed. Put on top of that 100,000 Ukrainians, and our own people leaving the country in droves. We're broken. We're a broken society. We cannot sustain that. And whatever it is, I think the government are acting recklessly with our economy.
My daughter is over in Australia working as a doctor, and she's coming back in May, but she had to go back to Australia for work because she had to pay back her postgrad medicine fees. I mean, when you think about all our highly educated children are leaving the country, and we've got no reason to give them hope or the why to come back home. What is there to come home to?
Look, I'm on the HSC West Forum. There is a recruitment ban in the HSC, despite what the government are saying. They're not offering full-time contracts to people. That's why your lovely daughter and plenty of excellent medical people, particularly our nurses. I mean, our nurses are sought the world over. My own daughter's second year into nursing, and we're losing them all. And we're losing them all because they don't want to stay in Mammy Nanny's box room. And there is other consequences to that. The people that are staying here are not having children.
Yes.
So there's massive consequences for the recklessness of this government.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, this government and previous governments.
Previous governments. My daughter is 33. I have no hope of having my son's 29. Neither are married or have children. So therefore, then fertility, the end of their fertility age in mid-30s. So the population is coming down. There's no children, and the family. I don't know about you. What do you see family values decreasing here in Ireland, especially from the message and maybe marketed from the big corporate political world?
Yeah, look, come here. First thing I'd say is that the population decline is something that we should be worried about. Very worried. Well, population decline in terms of our own young people having children, and be they Polish people or Moldovan people or whatever, but the people that live in our societies. And the other thing is, do you know what? We're beginning to turn a corner in terms of kind of wokeness and family values going down. There's a bit of a return to the church. There's a bit of a return to family values. I was at an opening of a walking track and a new playing field in Neanagh on Sunday, and I was delighted to see the amount of young families there with children, all wearing Aero tops, thanks be to God. And but yeah, do you know what? We're rare good people. Unfortunately, there's too many of them outside the country, but the ones that are here are good people too. And I think I have faith in this country, and I have faith in our own people doing the right thing. If they were led a bit better by the people that are elected to represent us, I'd be much more happier. But I think we have made a serious mistake in the amount of people we're letting into the country. And I don't care whether they're working or not working. We've hundreds of Ukrainians in Neanagh. You wouldn't hear a peep out of them because they're all working. and fine, best of luck to them, no problem. But now they're losing their hotel rooms and their bed and breakfast rooms because the government are getting out of that game, and they're now in the market for housing as well. But what they have that most people haven't is they've been able to save for the last 2 or 3 years because they weren't paying rent and they weren't paying mortgages. So they now are coming with buckets of cash to drive up to further inflate the housing market. And again, as I said, I'm a postman. I'm coming across loads of Ukrainians, great people. Listen, I don't care what colour anybody is or who they are, what they are. They're born good people, and they're the same thing as always. They want to rear families and put a roof over their heads. And no matter what colour they are, who they are, and I mean that. But what I'll say is our government have acted recklessly in letting so many people into the country. Sometimes bogus asylum seekers, allowing them to stay in the country, roofing them, putting money in their pockets, and allowing them to appeal after appeal after appeal. We've been reckless with the way this country has been managed, and particularly and that then puts pressure on housing. Housing is in big trouble.
Definitely, and it's caused a lot of divide within society as well.
It is.
Yeah.
It certainly is, and it is hard very hard to give out about people going to some of these marches. It is very hard because the government has given them every opportunity to. I don't like some of the sinister elements that are involved in them, but they're not all sinister elements. Believe you me, Ireland is waking up to the way it's been badly managed. But unfortunately, they're mixing with bad people. People have other ideas as to the way things should be done, not the way ideas that I share. But do you know what? Mr. Trump, and there's a reason we have Mr. Trump and Viktor Orban and people like that. It's because politics is broken. They are the result of broken politics because people are sick and tired of being told, being promised one thing and another thing being done. The doll set for 30 days over the last 7 or 8 months. 30 days. How can anyone have faith in politics? So if some charismatic person comes along, and it's going to happen, he will gather enough votes, or she will gather enough votes, and it be the right wing, left wing, whatever wing they want to be. If they're selling a message of a divisive message, and they have charisma, they could get it across the line because people are seething.
Well, I think what I've found from President Trump is bringing jobs back to America. He is bringing jobs back to the ordinary people, and it was the ordinary people that went to the MAGA events. It was the ordinary Joe Soap who had enough of, when you think all the factories. I'm from Derry. Derry was a shirt factory capital, and I worked in a shirt factory.
Yeah.
And in the early 90s, 1992, it was just closed down and went to Malaysia because it was cheaper workforce. We don't have any manufacturing in Ireland, only apart from these pharmaceuticals. We have the IT, we have all the social media outlets, but we don't even manufacture anything anymore in Ireland. And we're importing more. We only consume 1% of our vegetables that is sold in our supermarkets. And our fishermen are only allowed to catch 15% of the quotas within our sea waters. I mean, President Trump is actually, as he said, making America great again. And if you say that, you're far right. And as I mentioned earlier, from my perspective, and I'm looking for your opinion on this, has the nation just been divided in everything, from the referendum, from the lockdowns, from the referendums, to you're far right, you're far left, you're this, you're that? It just seems to be what you say, then society has just become fractured by dividing and conquering and labeling.
It remains to be seen if Mr. Trump is bringing jobs back to America. I'm watching it in interest. Believe it or not, I was actually in Pennsylvania, living in a Trump house for a couple of days before the elections. I was in a Trump office. I'm not, wouldn't be totally against. I'm watching with interest. I think wokeism went too far, and I think it has pushed people to the hilt. Totally abhorred with some of the stuff that Trump comes out with. But having said that, he's elected to do a job. I'm not sure his bullying tactics are good for diplomacy. But I'm watching with bated breath. You know, some of the other stuff that you were saying there about globalization, really. Yeah, look, we bringing potatoes from Egypt never made sense. The same way as we're not allowed to cut our turf, and we're bringing biofuel from Brazil to be shipped up to keep the turf plant going in Offaly. You know, if someone can tell me that that's logic, I'll have an argument with them. And there's a lot of things wrong. There's a lot of things right. I think we have a great country. I think we have great people, bright people, and believe you me, I noticed that we're creating as many jobs in America as Americans are creating here. You know, so Irish people have done well in America. They've created jobs. I did a few tours of a few of the pubs in New York in October. They're all Trump fans. I know people in Neanagh that flew over to New York to vote for Donald Trump. That's democracy, okay? But what I'm saying is, he is a result of broken politics, okay? You know, the presidential election will be interesting because I think the parties are going to get a kicking in it. So yeah, it'll be the presidential election will be the next time the Irish people will rise up and say we're not having one of ye.
Going to be interesting times, and has politics been just broken for a lot longer than what we think it has? You know, the globalization, you know, it's everything. We're not even allowed to. I was at Dublin Castle at the day of the referendum. I canvassed for no referendum.
Yeah, as I did, and Sharon did.
Yeah, and I traveled across the country in that. I'm very active on this channel and my other channel and social media. But we're not even to hold the Irish flag now is deemed, imagine in Ireland, deemed far right. Where has we gone wrong with holding our flag? My son is in the Irish Defence Forces. He wears the tricolour on his left arm because it's close to the heart.
Yeah.
But now, you know, if you hold the tricolour, you're far right. The narrative has completely gone.
Yeah, but it has changed. It's changing. You see Sinn Fein rolling back. You see the Minister for Justice rolling back. So you're seeing things a lot differently now than they were. I've lost you here now. Sorry, so you're frozen there. But anyway, sorry. I what I say is that things are changing. Because people are beginning to get the message. As I said, the presidential election will be the next time they get the message. Yeah. The referendum was a fantastic result for democracy because people didn't believe the bull and went out and voted the way they wanted to vote and actually gave the government. And to be honest with you, Sinn Fein should have put their fingers up in the air and just gone with the people instead of being wedded to wokeism. They actually had the cheek, all the parties had the cheek to present two referendums to us that couldn't even explain themselves. They were so badly worded. So the Irish people are sovereign at the end of the day.
And to even come up with the concept of taking the words woman and mother out of the Constitution, and what was it then about the relationship? You know, defining
a durable relationship.
Yeah. I mean, could you explain? It was unexplainable. And I think we spoke to Charlie Flanagan at the Fine Gael Dash when we were reporting from the Fine Gael Dash with media accreditation. He actually said that he refused to do it years ago because he couldn't get the wording and disagreed with the wording. Yeah. So they knew it was going to fail, but they went. Do you think then an awful lot of the political parties and political establishment really they stopped and became deaf to what people on the ground were saying and thinking?
I'd be more cynical about it. I'd say that they knew they were going to get hockeyed in the referendums, and they took the hockey and so that they wouldn't get the hockey in the general election.
Right.
People have given them their bloody nose.
Oh. Right. That's interesting. I never thought about it that way.
Yeah, they've done it before. So yeah, I'd read it. I would read it that way.
Mm.
And also, it allowed them to take Sinn Fein down.
Yes.
Because Sinn Fein were supposed to be the opposition.
Would you? An awful lot of people have said that Sinn Fein became like controlled opposition. They were just agreeing and with everything, saying that they were in opposition, but they were not calling the government to account.
Well, for such a clever party, they felt they had one leg in government, so they became safe. They set in the fence, and they stopped questioning things. They tried to be friends with everybody, and they've done irreparable damage to themselves now. And the only way it can be changed is if Mary Lou is changed as leader. And she's someone that I have a bit of time for. I think as a person, she's a good person. But I think she's damaged as leader, to be honest with you.
Right. Do you see that happening in the near future, Seamus? Sorry for crashing rushing.
They're not going to get anywhere unless it happens. And it's nothing personal against Mary Lou, by the way. It's just think they need a change of leader to change direction. If they're going to have this massive change in direction, they need to change their leader.
Well, Mary Lou, as a female leader of a political party, who could not define what a woman is.
Yeah, I think they got really caught up with that, really badly caught up with that.
You know, that really says she's supposed to be an empowered woman, a political leader, but has she lost the touch and the common touch of what a definition of a mother, what a woman is in the referendum, in the constitution, and then with all this transgender ideology. And, you know, my personal view is that what anybody wants to do over the age of 25, they're making a conscious adult decision. But to push this agenda onto children in women's sports, in women's changing room, and on schools, and then to say that, you know, children could identify as whatever they wanted. Just let children be children.
Yeah, look, when I was growing up, we always had different people. I was a bit different myself, to be honest with you. And you went through your phase in your life, and you either wanted to be arty, wearing makeup or wearing dark clothes. You have people that would identify as all sorts of things.
Yeah.
But you don't give them the opportunity to go to England to have an operation to change who they are, okay? As in Tavistock. But what I would say is that I said it to someone yesterday that I actually canvassed for the equality referendum and proudly did it. But when LGBT became LGBT plus 100, that's when I started having problems with it, because like when you see people dressed as transvestites launching St. Patrick's Day parades, we've gone too far in this country in terms of over promoting equality. And that's not equality, by the way, okay? But as you said, if someone over the age of 18 or 19 want to be whatever they want to be, but I know of children that are going to school wanting to be cats. And if someone barks at them, they get in trouble. So, and that's fine. Sometimes you put them down to the back of the class and let them be what they want to be, or in their own imagination. But what happened was you weren't allowed to say no.
No.
You weren't allowed to question it. And I think that's changing too. That's the tide is turning in that one too. We had literally gone too far on that, and I think, as I said, I think politicians are beginning to see that. Look, the people that always vote in this country are the people over the age of 60, and they're the ones that hold the balance of power always. Okay, and they like safe politicians, and that's why they always vote for Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael. But bear this in mind: Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael's vote is dropping every single election, but they're also the ones that hold the government to task in referendums. And they are the ones that will hold the government to account in the presidential election.
I have a question that so you think that, in your opinion, Mary Lou McDonald, for the betterment of the party, political party Sinn Fein, should step aside? Is there anybody who you think would make a good leader of Sinn Fein?
Do you know, I don't. Obviously, Pierce Doherty would be the next best. Who would have been the best person? But Pierce is a big family. There's a lot of young kids there, and I know that's the reason he didn't do it. A very personal person. Jesus, you know, I actually can't see a leader amongst them, to be honest with you. And I know that they've always brought good people through, but I can't see a charismatic leader in amongst them now. You know, and whatever people think of Jerry Adams, he was one of the most charismatic people you'd ever meet in your life. I brought him into town one day. There was cars screeching just to get out and shake hands with him. That wouldn't happen with any other politician, or very few politicians around the place anyway. And you need charisma to be a leader of a party. You know,
you need to be able to connect to the people.
Mm-hmm.
And I, you know, sometimes you look at even today with Ruth Carpenter, even speaking to the media.
I saw that. Jesus Christ.
I mean, you have this where has politics and the media and the politics and business and corporate all just become so wrapped up in themselves that, you know what, they don't care what the people think. And now they don't even, they're not even allowing themselves to be held. The role of the media is to call politicians and government into account.
Not a big fan of John McGurk. He's pro-Israeli. But I'm a big fan of what Gript have been doing. Okay. Ben is a good journalist. I think Ruth Carpenter has had some sort of a woke breakdown or something, because she's disappointed me over the last number of years. That I always regarded her as a very good politician, but not over the last couple of years. And what she did today didn't help her. Or Paul Murphy looked embarrassed actually beside her, and so yeah, no, I'd have a great time for Richard Boyd Barrett, but Jesus, I think Ruth has gone into some sort of a woke breakdown or whatever wrong. I don't know what's wrong.
And maybe politics just got caught up in the whole wokeism and the whole liberal agenda that they actually stopped seeing, when they can't even define what a woman is and a man is, or a boy and a girl is. There's something seriously wrong. And as you said, the tide is turning now. It
is turning, yeah. We'll have a new pope in a couple of days. Hopefully it'll be a pope that'll be able to reach out and continue to work with Francis. And so yeah, look, come here. I'm not the most religious person in the world, but as you get older, you get closer to nature and closer to some sort of meaning of life. And I'm not quite there yet, but we'll see.
Well, you know, Councillor Seamus Morris, you know, we really appreciate you coming on tonight and talking to us and here on the Irish Political Roundup. And you know, the work that you're doing you're really boots on the ground, and it really does come across that you are really a community man, the postman as well, who listens to what his constituents and voters are saying. And maybe that's why you're 21 years a politician. So, no, we really do appreciate you coming on. And if there's anything that you would like to get the message out, or an issue that you would like to highlight, please do get in touch with Paul and myself on the Irish Political Roundup.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.